Face jugs. Okay, we're doing face jugs. Here's an example of one that I've done in the past. What you guys should kind of pay attention to this is the texture. You don't have to add textures on yours, but also it hides so many things and looks kind of nice. And so I'll do a really cool things with this glaze in it later. So maybe I can show that to you guys later. So I've already made my sketch and it's scaled just like we've done with our regular coil vessels. And I'm kind of going for, obviously, a real happy face here with a big giant mouth. So I've already started doing the coil vessels, or creating the coil vessels. So the thing is, it's a little bit different than previously, is that you aren't making the outside look really nice. I mean, you are making the outside look really nice, but they're not individual coils that you need to make them look really pretty, each coil. So once you add them on there, you blend them. And so it goes a lot faster. And all you have to pay attention to is like the shape that you're making, okay? Just to kind of recap for those of you who haven't had this class in a while, or those of you at home who just need a reminder too, you want to get the bottom base of this. So I just rolled this out with a rolling pin on a canvas. And then I found something that's the right size bottom. So again, as a recap for those of you who in class who haven't had this for a while, if you take a little piece of paper or really anything, and I'm just marking this with my thumb how wide the bottom of this is, and then I use my scaled part of this, and so it's like just about 3 inches. Well, then I would walk around the room with my ruler, or walk around your space with a ruler and find out something that is, 3 inches. So this is about 3 inches. This is what I'm going to use. So when I cut that to get my base, again, a little bit of a reminder, I got a round circle base. That's perfectly circle. Awesome. And then I'm going to roll out coils. So I just took a piece of clay and I'm going to kind of squeeze it a little bit so it's not quite so square. I'm going to squeeze the corners a little bit, and remember, I'm going to real quick, briefly go over all the tips for this. I like to stand up because I think that it is a little bit more leverage on this. You're going to hear a little bit loud noises as I'm rolling this probably because this thing, I actually don't really want this to break, so set that up there. If you get to the, so I'm like spread my fingers using the whole hand, my whole hand, and a huge portion of my desk, like a good 9 inches or something of the desk, 7 to 9 inches, probably depending on how big your hands are. But I'm gonna roll through here, and if you guys notice, I stopped and set that back up. If you notice it's getting kind of like long and skinny, remember you stop, you kind of push that down a little bit, and then start rolling again. Make sure you give yourself a good space to roll in. And I'm not staying in one spot for very long. Like I roll and then move on, I roll and then move on, roll and move on. If you're finding it's getting thin, you move on from that spot. Don't keep rolling over that because it's gonna get thinner and thinner. If you need to break it in half because it's not fitting on your desk or you can't manage it, just do that. So you wanna aim for no smaller than a quarter. You want to aim for around a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch is like a perfect coil size. So if you use a ruler and measure, these are about a 1/2 inch, okay? And so I would get yourself a couple of coils ready to go before you get started. And then you start adding your coils around your edge, right? We score and slip the very first coil that we add each day. Or each session, depending on if you're at home or here. If your clay is kind of dry, you need to score and slip, otherwise that won't make a very good join. And of course you have to blend. So you start adding. Again, real quick, if you're adding coils directly on top of each other, the wall is gonna go straight up, perfectly straight. If you add these coils where they're a little bit on the outside edge, I'm gonna use this little one, then that's gonna go a little bit, so if it's a little bit on the outside edge, it's gonna make the walls go a little bit out. It's a fairly simple concept, but it takes paying attention to make it happen, okay? So then that's gonna make that wall go out. If you want it to go in, I'm gonna show you on this part how to make that go in. So I have already built this up, and I always use my ruler and I just measure along the way. I was making this yesterday and I just kept checking into this. So according to this drawing, at 7 inches, I'm gonna start going in a little bit. When I get to like the 8.5, 9 inches, I'm like way in, like totally on like the sideways of the coil to make that shoulder. This is going to be the hardest part that you do for this assignment, is making that shoulder actually go in for that jug top. So, oh, I just broke that. So I'm going to start going in just a little bit. Starting up here down like kind of at 9 inches, and now I'm gonna really start making this go in. So I'm pulling it way on the inside edge. See how fast that goes in when you start putting that way on the inside edge? Does that make sense? Okay, then once you get to this part, okay, so actually I'm gonna before I add that coil, I would probably blend on the inside of this, but I'm gonna go ahead and blend real quick on the outside. I like to use, whenever it gets to this outside part, I like to use this rib. And instead of going sideways, because sometimes people think that they wanna like go sideways, you really wanna go like either like vertical, either up and down, like from up to down or down to up, because that's gonna blend those coils together. If you go sideways, it's just gonna kind of smash them and they're not actually being blended together. So, you want to make sure that you're doing that. This with a rib, or you can do this with a popsicle stick or a modeling tool or whatever you like to use. But I'm just getting it to kind of blend together really quickly, and then I'm going to come back and make it nice and smooth. So up here at the top, instead of adding like a whole nother coil, I'm just gonna kind of like pinch this just a little bit off to the side, so it kind of creates that, like, you know what I'm saying, the lip on that jug top. Okay, so then once you have your jug, you'll need to make a handle. Jug handle. I'm just gonna do a little one. I kind of like those like that. So okay, probably want to score and slip because this is a jug handle that you might pick it up by it. So I'm just gonna do a little scoring. All right, now let's talk about facial features, okay? So, what my suggestion is first, so if this is like the front of my jug or front of my handle, I don't see a handle on here. I didn't draw one. If you wanted it to be like on the side so you can see it, you can put your face on the side. In this case, I want the handle to be in the back so that the face will be on the front. You want to then, I would start and kind of trace out what your face should look like. So, because if you don't, you're gonna find that you don't have enough space for all of your stuff. So in my case, all of my top part of my face is all smashed into the very top part. The mouth is really big, so I want to leave a little space for that chin that I have there. And then I have, so like I drew that chin, and then I'm going to, about 6 inches up, figure out where that is. Oh no, 5 inches up. All right, and that's where the mouth is going to be. And I'm going to kind of just draw a basic shape of this just so I know how big I need to make, how big I need to make that mouth, and just so that I make sure everything else fits on there. So then my nose comes in over here, and then I have eyes here at the top. I'll show you this so you can see. And if it's not exact, if it doesn't end up exactly like this, at least it's a guideline for what you're trying to do. Cheekbones. Okay, so then this is kind of what it looks like, a real vague kind of, I don't know if you can see it. If this is still kind of soft, another thing you can do, because think about your face and how your face has like, your eyes are like sunken in, right? Because they're like inside your, being protected or whatever by your skull and your facial features. And then your brow bones and your nose stick out further than your eyes. Does that make sense? So if you were to start adding clay on here, adding eyes, and you didn't add the bone, the nose piece and those, the way that fit in there, that it looks fun. It'll look a little bit funny. They'll look like the eyes are bulging. So if you want this to look a little bit more people realistic like, I'm going to go ahead and like push in right here and dent that a little bit where those eyes are going to be, so that it kind of already starts forming a little bit more realistic version of a face, the face structure. So that's going to be really important. All right, and then for my eyes, I'm going to take I'm going to roll up a ball. All right, and then I'm going to cut this ball right in half so that I know that each side is the same size. Okay, now if you do want big, giant, bulging eyes, you can totally have that if you want. And I'm going to set that in here like this. So actually you probably should score and slip these because they're going to be in there for good. You don't want them to fall out or anything. So I'm going to put that into where that socket is. All right, now this looks really stupid. Okay, so in order to make that look really good, you need to get some eyelids. So going to be required to have eyes, which include eyelids. Okay. So in order to make an eyelid, that's just like a little flap of skin, right, on your face. So on here, it's just going to be a little, I'm going to pinch out really thin, kind of like slab piece of clay. And so I'm pinching to make that really nice and neat. All right. So I'm going to add that to this eyeball. And I'm going to blend that out, but not on the part where it touches the eye. So sometimes people blend it and then it touches the eye. I'm like, what's the point of that? You just smashed over. You just worked really hard to make this nice and smooth and clean, and then you just smashed over it. Okay, and then I need to do a bottom eyelid. So I'm going to curve that up, and I'm going to pinch it again the same way. And I've been just like grabbing off this coil that I already had made and kind of just bending it right away and then smashing it flat. You can't go back and clean this very well or you're gonna get your eyeball. So, all right, so now we got that, which looks kind of stupid right now, but once you blend it out, then you get a really nice eyeball or eyelids. All right, and now let's talk about brow bones, because I told you that brow bone is what's protecting that eye, and it sticks out a little bit further. So I'm going to just take a coil and add And this is where you get that expression. If we're going for like sad or happy or mad, these you can change these. If I change this to look kind of like this is gonna look a little bit more mad when they're like closer together and bent in like this, than if I kind of do it more like this, which I'm going for like that happy look. So I'm gonna set this in here like so. I'm gonna score and slip this on. And then I'm gonna blend that because your brow bone is underneath your skin, right? So you need this to look like it's underneath your skin, which means this has to be all blended out. So I'm gonna push on that to blend it out. And your brow bone bleeds right into where your nose bone, or nose bridge, the bridge of your nose comes in. Okay, so I'm gonna just blend this out. Push it down a little bit to make it a little more natural looking. Okay, and so now you have brow. Yeah? Okay. Oops. Now you can come back later, like I'm gonna have big furry bushy eyebrows on here, so later I'm gonna come back and really rough that up and make that look like an eyebrow in there, but right now it's just a face. Now, let's talk about nose. We're just gonna move our way down. Noses are actually pinch pots. Okay, so I'm gonna get and it depends on how big of a pinch pot of how big of a nose you're going. I'm going for a really big, really big, wide nose. I'm not gonna do the other side of the eye just to save time, but you guys get the gist. You do the same thing on the other side. But I'm going for a really big, wide nose. So I'm gonna actually make a pretty decent size pinch pot, but my nose is really short and it sticks on there like that. So I'm gonna poke the hole in there just like I would normal pinch pot. I'm gonna pinch at the bottom just like I normally would. I want this nice and round, so I'm holding it in my hand. I'm not setting it down on the table to pinch this out. I'm holding it in my hand, pinching, 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 until I get like a nice pinch pot. Okay. So remember how when I did pinch pots and I showed you how to make it into like a triangle-like shape? Remember that at all? Maybe I did a heart for you guys, I don't know. So look at this outside part. If I just take that and pinch it again to make that kind of triangle shape, okay? And if I turn it on the side, see how it's kind of starting to look a little bit like a nose sticking out? Okay, it doesn't yet, but it's the start of it. So back looks like a triangle, and then this front part looks like, you know, the rounded part of a nose. Well, I'm gonna then pinch this out like this, okay, because that's gonna end up going, blending onto my face. Okay, and then I need to get nostrils. So you can either take your finger or a pen tool or back of a pen tool or something, and I'm poking nostrils in there. Let me be clear about this, okay? This is a nose. Human noses have nostrils from the bottom, right? Like this. Pigs have nostrils that are in the front. If you put your nostrils in the front like this, it's gonna look like pig. If you want to look like a person, you gotta poke the nostrils from the bottom. Now, if you're making a pig like thing, then that's what you want to do maybe. But so anyway, then I'm just going to kind of form this. I'm going to push this out a little bit and pop that so that like the side rounded part of that nostril. And mine are really wide, so I'm going to go ahead and make it real wide. Okay, and I'm going to kind of pinch that around a little bit and help just kind of form that into more of like a nostril. See where we're going with this? This one has boogers in it. Gross.
Why are you picking them?
Well, gotta do what you gotta do. All right, so I'm forming this nostril. Is that your belly?
Yeah.
Somebody's hungry. Okay, so this is the nose. I'm gonna kind of take this in here and pinch that a little bit. So now it just look like a nose now, kind of. Like whose nose? So I gotta put this on there, but if I put it on there, I know it needs to be up here above this because so like the nose can kind of split into the brow, but I got a little bit of extra and I don't want it to go into my eye. That's super easy fix. You just cut some of that off there. I don't need that part. I don't need this part. Okay. All right, and then I'm gonna score and slip this on there. Notice that there is a big hole in the inside of here, but because I poked the nostrils in there, there's an opening to this big hole, so it's not going to blow up because I have a hole there. push that on there. I'm gonna blend this out so you can't even tell that it's been separately added. And I'm kind of shaping my nose as I'm doing this because I want it to not, I want the nose part to be really nice and round, not necessarily like this bridge of the nose. There is no real order about how you do this. I probably could have just as easily have done the nose or before the eyes, but I don't know. This is just kind of the way I do it. Okay. Careful around your eyeballs. Okay, so there he is. Half of his face looks pretty good, yeah? Okay, so now let's do the mouth now. Oh, I wanted to actually talk about that nose. So like I wanted that nose to look a little bit more like round, like bulbous kind of nose, the end of the nose. So if you wanted to do that, if I just, I'm gonna take like a little bit of clay, made a ball, and then I'm gonna score and slip this just to the tip of it and blend it in. So you can kind of change these features a little bit.
Can you just pull it back out?
Like inside of there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really want it just to be on the tip, and so I don't really...
Like a clown nose.
Kind of, but I'm gonna blend it out so you can't, it doesn't look separate. So like I just added to that. With this being said, I'll show you too, like you can also pinch this. So if you want like this guy right here, he is a little bit more like evilly looking. So he has like sharper, you know, smaller nose, sharper features, and I added clay. See how it makes that like tip of the nose go kind of down and like long and pointy? I just added that on there and just like pinch this out. So instead of having this nice round bulbous kind of rounded big fatty nose, this one's like nice, like really skinny. So I just pinched that real skinny like, okay? So you can do that with you can do whatever with your clay and pinch it however you want. This is just gonna give you like the shape of the nose. It's just like the tricks for giving you like the basic shape of the nose. Okay, so now let's talk about mouths, okay? I actually, just kidding, I want to do cheekbones real fast because I put my mouth over the top of my cheekbones a little bit. So cheekbones will be a really similar. So it depends on what kind of cheekbones you're doing, how big they are, if you're going for happy, if you're going to those high cheekbones when it's like smiling, if you're like frowning, you won't necessarily have those really high cheekbones there. But you're going to go about this the same way. So I'm making a pinch pot for the cheekbone. Oh, I'll show you too if you don't poke a hole in it. What happens. So I kind of pinch this out kind of wide. I'm not going for a really deep pinch pot, just more like a wide, shallow pinch pot. And I don't have to make these nice and pretty like you would if you're making a legit pinch pot. But I'm going to kind of pinch this right here, and this is going to go like, you know, your cheekbone goes kind of underneath your face here, and then kind of goes around here, like this is your cheek, right? So if you're making that, I kind of like pinch this into like a little kidney-like shape, kind of. Does that make sense? And I'm pushing this down right here because I want the mouth to go up into this spot, because as you smile, then you have those things there, right? So I'm kind of pinching that in there, and I'm finding that my nose is in the way. Let me cut this little spot out. Here. Okay, so see how I'm putting my cheekbone right inside of there? And I'm kind of going to position it actually so that the tip of that mouth that I drew on there fits in here like this. Okay, and, oh, whoops, I didn't score and slip. All right, and then of course you want to blend like, you know, the skin is not, has a big cut in it. All right, so then that would be a cheekbone. Remember, there's a hole in there, so you want to poke that hole. I keep saying it because it's really important. I'll show you what happens if you don't. All right, there it is. My hole can literally be just as small as this. Okay, just that little bitty hole right in there. You're not even going to notice it. It's kind of on the back side. Careful around this eye. Okay. right, now let's do the mouth. All right, so he's looking pretty good so far. The mouth is going to be a coil, but a real fat. Well, in my case, I'm doing big fatty lips. Okay, so I have like this kind of fat coil right here, and then you're gonna go through, after you make the coil, then I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna pinch just a little bit off the side, because your lip is made of like the pink fleshy part, but also like this part right here that attaches to your skin, right? This part of your skin, and then this pink part for your lips. So that's what I'm creating here, is that like the fleshy color part, not just the pink part. So I'm just pinching this with my thumb and finger, kind of pinching that so that it kind of creates that lip part. Then you can kind of shape that lip the way you want it to. Now this is way more than I need, and I want to get rid of this part right here because so that it can go up the nose. All right, so it looks like I'm gonna need it to about there. Here, let me score and slip. Score. It's not really working very well. There we go. Okay. So you guys can kind of see. So I'm putting that in there like that. And this one is, of course, too long, so I'm gonna cut it. Like that. Okay, and again, this gets pinched out or smoothed out. I got my top lip on. I'm just gonna cut this. Remember, I'm only doing the one side just for this demo purpose. But you, of course, would do both. All right, and then for my bottom lip, same concept. Same thing, only you're gonna flip it the other way. I got kind of a fatty coil. And I want a really big fat lip, so I'm actually gonna keep it pretty big. But I'm still gonna pinch out that bottom, or that little piece for the bottom, for like the bottom part of the lip, where it connects. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna join this up to that. Score and slip. Let's see, I want this to meet up here. All right, yeah? Okay, score, slip, blend. All right, I didn't put teeth on here. You can have two options for teeth. You can either like take like a slab that would be like the right size in there and do this ahead of time and like carve out like your teeth here and like, you know what I mean, like carve out. But if you want to do this, you want to wait till it's leather hard, and you'd actually like sit and carve. Like this is my, oh, I did that the wrong way. Your flat teeth would be at the top part here. It'd be rounded down there. So if you did that, you would then like kind of carve out like each one of your teeth, which does look really good, but also can also look good is if you just take separate pieces and add them. So, And I would probably do this before the mouth, but I didn't want to run out of time and should not show you the mouth. But you can also, I mean, I guess you could probably do it with. But like you can kind of form separate little teeth. And then just score and slip each one of these. They're kind of skinnier. Okay, so then you'd add teeth in there if you wanted to do like teeth. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're required to have eyes, nose, mouth, brow bones, and cheekbones. After that, anything else is up to you. So like this one has horns, it has a nose ring, it has texture, it has like goatee. Yeah. Yours can be any of those. Oh, one thing I didn't talk about was like the eyeball itself. So like in pottery and 3D, if you have like a space, a hole in there, it's gonna make it dark. So like your dark, instead of adding like a little piece to the outside of the pupil, or for the pupil, instead of adding a piece to the outside, it doesn't look as good or it doesn't look as good as if you poke a hole in it. So the hole, see how like dark this looks, which you want for a pupil. Oh, I keep putting clay on there. Come on. Sorry, I'm making an eyeball here and so you can see it.
Good morning.
All right, so see this? Looks better than if you do like a dot on the top. Okay. All right, I think that's it as far as like this is the basic. I'm gonna work and clean this up and get it all like solidly done so that way you can kind of see the end product of it and we'll see a picture of it. What? Oh yeah, I never showed you that. That would be this one. So like if you don't poke a hole for the cheekbone. So in this case, you can see that I've added 2 cheekbones. Like I've added 2 pieces because I didn't like the shape of it. If you don't poke a hole, it'll just like pop off. So this one had, I think that there was 2. So I had like this one had one and then I put another piece on there and then this didn't and so that it popped off. So.